Amitabh Kant is the CEO of NITI Aayog and he joins me live. Mr. Kant, thank you so much for your time. How will you describe this budget? Is it welfareist? The middle class can be certainly disappointed with no changes in tax slabs and rates.
So, Maria, I think this budget is very forward-looking. It's extremely progressive. It really prepares India for the next decade of growth. And it focuses on the sunrise areas of growth, which is very critical. If India is to grow on a sustained basis for a long period of time, it focuses on capital expenditure, and it keeps the expenditure on welfare schemes slightly higher than before.
Okay. Mr. Kant, one big takeaway certainly of Budget 2022 is that India is going to have its own digital currency. And that brings me to my next question about the inquisitiveness that is there now. By when can we expect this to come about and what will it be called?
So the digital currency is the domain of the Reserve Bank of India, which will work on this and will roll it out during the course of the year. The digital rupee will enable you to do transactions digitally, both domestically and internationally. That's one part of the announcement. The other part of the announcement was on digital virtual assets, which really means that you are now going to regulate cryptos. It's not a ban of any kind, but a regulation, which would mean that the government has imposed a tax of 30% on cryptos, and this would mean that a regulatory regime will follow in due course.
You know, so explain to us, I'll take that a little forward. What does it mean for cryptocurrency at large in India? Does it mean that route is clear for crypto being legal and legitimate? And do you think 30% tax on virtual assets is the right way, as the industry's first reaction has been that it's very steep?
So one is that the government examined this issue and felt that cryptos are an asset class, much like mutual fund, much like bonds. It's an asset class in which people invest. And cryptos are backed by the blockchain technology, which is blockchain technology makes it possible to track it on a real-time basis, and therefore it will be very difficult to ban cryptos. If you ban cryptos, it's like saying you're banning the internet, or if you're banning geospatial maps, which is very, very difficult to do simply because you're expecting some terror attack or something. But you need to regulate it fully so as to ensure that cryptos are not misused for terror funding and other purposes. Okay. And therefore, putting a and also the government is very concerned about the fact that a number of young people are investing in cryptos, and therefore it has imposed a tax of 30%. But this would logically mean that a very effective regulatory regime where you need to ensure that crypto exchanges, much like you have mutual funds or bonds, etc., being regulated, cryptos will also get regulated in due course in this country.
So, another sector which is a matter of... Yes. Go ahead.
And I feel that it's a very good step to put the tax at about 30%, because you need to be sure that this asset class grows in a systematic, sound, and a scientific manner.
Another sector which everybody had their eyes on was education. While it's the step in the right direction to clearly recognize loss from 2 years of school closure, but how is one class, one TV channel really an answer to that? How is e-content a solution when we know about the huge digital divide in India and several dropping out of schools, particularly because of lack of devices, internet during the pandemic? And let's not forget, sir, education is a state subject, and have you really factored in the kind of opposition that would come to it?
So, Maria, that's a very important question, and I don't think the budget is a solution for all the challenges of India. The budget is a directional statement, and this year's budget needs to be seen in continuity with the last year's budget. But the question that you've raised is a very important one about a lot of children losing out education during the pandemic period. They've been the worst affected. That you need to catch up for the loss of learning outcomes that has taken place. Now, what the budget has done is to do something in that direction in terms of digital classes, etc. But looking at the larger context, I think what the budget does is to drive the process of digitization. It drives the process of accelerating digital education. It drives the process of saying that if India is to grow and progress, then going digital and going green is the way forward. And I think that's one part of the answer, but the solution to learning outcomes cannot be found by the central government alone. It'll have to be done in partnership with the states. It'll have to be done in partnership with the panchayats, with the local villages, with the districts. Each one of them will have to play a major role. This is the biggest challenge that India is confronted with, and I'm quite sure that all of us in partnership will ensure that the students who've lost their learning outcomes, we are able to make up for it in the coming months.
The allocation in education hasn't gone up, sir. And again, look at the health sector. We have seen how during the second wave last year, the loopholes in our healthcare system meant shortage of ICU beds and oxygen supply. The budget does not seem to have addressed how healthcare infrastructure can be strengthened. What happened to the 5-year plan of spending 65,000 crore in Ayushman Bharat infrastructure?
So I think, Maria, you haven't got your figure right. I've examined this. The National Education Mission had a BE of 34,300 crores in 21-22. This has been increased to 39,553 crores in BE of 22-23. In fact, if you look at the RE of 21-22, it was 30,000. It's gone up by about almost 10,000 crores as far as education is concerned. I think if you look at the PM Jan Arogya Yojana, if you look at the National Health Mission, both of them, the budgets have gone up. The government is committed to ensuring that we have the digital health mission, that we drive health infrastructure on ground, and you know, resources are not a challenge here. As and when, as was done in the previous years, as the BE resources are utilized, you will have more and more allocations being provided for both health and education at the RE stage. So I think both these subjects are state subjects. Both these subjects we need to work with the states, and actually states need to get their act together. I think that's very, very important.
What about Manrega? Budget has lowered allocation for Manrega from 93,000 crore in 2021-2022 to 73,000 crore 2022-2023. Is this not a setback to rural employment? What will the rural youth out of job because of multiple lockdowns and sitting at home do now?
That's a very, very unfair and an incorrect statement to make. I think the figures for the BE of this year, the budget estimate of this year needs to be compared with the budget estimate of last year. The BE for Manrega this year is 73,000 crores, exactly what it was for BE of 21-22. The RE for last year had seen an increase based on better utilization due to the pandemic. If there is a crisis-like situation, there's increased asking for more resources from the states. The government will provide for increased allocation of resources for Manrega at the RE stage. But rest assured, you can rest assured that there will never be a shortage of resources for a rural employment guarantee scheme.
Last question to you, Mr. Kant, and this is, of course, your pet idea about startups. Tax incentives for startups will be provided for 1 more year to startups that had already been extended through 2023 in view of the COVID-19 pandemic. But has enough been announced to boost ecosystem, because a comprehensive tax structure is what startups were looking at?
So Maria, the government has done everything possible to create a unique ecosystem for startups. Since the time the Startup India movement was launched in 2016 by the Prime Minister,